All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, man. Oh, Star Fox, you said it. I was drunk as hell last night. Oh man, that was too much. That was too much. I woke up this morning. I saw a little bit of the recap of my commentary last night, and man, had way too much to drink last night. Terrible, terrible commentary. Apologize to everyone that was here yesterday. I know you guys were just enjoying the time. Nobody really complained, but still, I apologize for the commentary last night. Wasn't on point. Was watching it as a drunken boxing fan last night. um, but yeah, let's talk about yesterday, man. We're gonna go through all of the fights from yesterday. I was able to wake up early this morning. Was able to watch the entire Otto Wallin fight this yesterday. I was able to rewatch Jamel Charlo and Canelo Alvarez as well. All right. Um, and my thoughts really didn't change that much. I was just able to see some differences in the Canelo and Charlo fight, watching it from a sober mind and not as a crazy drunken fan. And I was definitely able to check out some things and see some differences in Charlo mainly because I want to know what exactly happened. Obviously, when you really think about it, Canelo was always the better talent to me. I said this before the fight, and this was going to be the first time that Canelo fought someone in a long time. I know he fought Triple G, and Triple G moved up to fight him, but Canelo had once fought at a lower weight than Triple G. It's not like Triple G wasn't capable of fighting at 168. So I don't really count him, even though he moved up. It's like Canelo started in a couple divisions lower than him and passed him by going up to 168, 175. But Triple G was very capable of fighting at those divisions. He had the size to fight at those divisions. He just chose to stay down at 160. All right. But we're going to talk more about that later in the video. I just want to go over some of the other fights and recap for the people that weren't here. I did cover pretty much everything. I covered the zone card. I covered the Showtime pay-per-view. All right. Nah, I'm only giving an apology because when I was rewatching it today, I realized that I wasn't giving you punch by punch by punch. You know what I mean? It was more, I guess it was Canelo was so dominant in the fight that it got to a point where I wasn't even telling you what was going on. I was just more angry that Jamel wasn't giving us the fight that I thought he was going to get. You guys heard me before the fight. I didn't think that any of the fights on this undercard or this card in general could fail. I thought all of the fights, all of the matchups to me were great matchups. I thought they all had the ingredients to make a good fight stylistically. From the Garcia fight to the Ugas fight. I thought the first half of the Ugas Barrios fight was really good until Ugas' eye started to shut. He started to take damage. We'll talk more about that too. I thought the Lubin Ramos fight was going to be more action packs based on Lubin eventually fighting his fight, and it never happened. You know what I mean? And then we had Charlo and Canelo, which was just domination. It wasn't competitive at all. You know what I mean? But let's go back. Let's go through these fights real quick so we can get to Charlo and Canelo, and then we can talk about what these guys can do moving forward. All right. Otto Wallin and Murat Gassiev. I watched the fight this morning. All right, the whole fight is on YouTube. We couldn't find it. We couldn't get a broadcast of it all week, and now the fight is in clear HD, top quality. The full fight is on YouTube today. All right, and I was able to watch it, and it was just a one-sided fight to me. It's just Gassiev it got exposed. Gassiev, we know he can punch, but as a boxer, he doesn't have many weapons. He's straightforward. It's like you got a less intense version of what Usyk did to him in this fight. If I can just sum it all up, how Usyk won, uh, Wallin did it the same way, but not with less intensity. You know what I mean? It was just slower pace, but he did the same thing. You know what I mean? He moved to his right most of the time, kept popping the jab. And, when you watch like Canelo, for example, as Canelo was coming forward, what is Canelo doing? He's feinting, he's shifting his head left and right. You know what I mean? He's parrying, he's fighting out of a high guard, but it's different. You know what I mean? It's like an active high guard. So he's doing a lot more to trying to land the right shot. As in Gassiev yesterday, he's just walking straight, marching straight forward. He's not throwing any jabs. He's barely fainting. You know what I mean? He's not really changing levels like that. He became very predictable. And there's no hooks to the body. It's all a straight right hand. You'll get a hook every once in a while up top, trying to get uh Wallin around his guard, but he wasn't really getting much. He'll just march forward and shoot a straight right hand every once in a while. And like he wasn't trying to fight his way in. He wasn't being aggressive enough. He was just like letting things breeze by. Like Wallin was this breezing by the whole entire fight, winning the same way. And I know I did a breakdown. I said that there's two ways this fight can go. Is either Gassiev is going to stop him late based on Wally tiring out, or the other option is Wally's is going to wear a clear decision win. You know what I mean? It's going to be a decision win based on him just being a southpaw, landing straight left, Wally Gassiev not showing that power as a heavyweight. I know he's knocked out the few heavyweights, but he's fought journeyman leading up to this fight. You know what I mean? So while he's really been in there, he's battle tested. He's been in there Brazil. He's been in there with Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? He gave Tyson Fury one of his best professional fights, So it was an easy fight for Wallin. And, again, Gassiev is only like 29 years old. So I'm not going to sit here and go off and say he should retire. What I am saying, though, is that it's time to change who he's working with, because he has the talent. I mean, he made it to the finals of the World Boxing Super Series as a cruiserweight. All right. So I don't want to sit here and say size is everything. Yes, he is a smaller heavyweight. And being that he did cut down and, got into good shape for this fight, he probably should fight as a bridgerweight, but if he's going to remain as a heavyweight, he needs to bring us more to his game. Like he needs to add more to his game. He's too limited to compete as a heavyweight. He's clearly too limited, and if he fights anyone else that's good, at some point, somebody's going to actually stop him because Wallin was actually able to buzz him. And I think if Wallin wasn't so disciplined, he probably could have worked to get a stoppage, but he fought a cautious fight and he was winning and he stuck to his plan and that was it. All right. So that's what we got. And that's pretty much, Wallin at this point, I would say that he needs a good fight. I think he needs to fight another top 10 guy, So, I was mentioning Joe Joyce before. If he wants a lesser dangerous southpaw fighter, he should probably fight a guy like Otto Wallin on a get back. You know what I mean? And I was mentioning this yesterday when I was on live. I was like throwing out names for Zhilei Zhang and what Zhang should do in order to get that. I'm not Zhang. I'm sorry. Joe Joyce should do the come back and fight someone that's maybe like a top 20 guy, top 20, top 10, top 20 type of fighter that doesn't have all the advantages that Young had in that fight. Being big, being a southpaw, being powerful. He needs to get back. And Wallin would be a good fighter, or get Wallin to get in there to fight Frank Sanchez. I said the same. Frank Sanchez was on the undercard, on the preliminaries, on the free undercard. And again, with him, it's like, well, we waiting for you to get into a real fight. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's my thought. Shout out to everyone. By the way, shout out to everyone that's in the chat, man. Please smash that like button on your way in. Shout out to anyone that's here. Star Fox, 1 foot out the door. Richard V, EV, Edward, Rocket Andretti is here. The Straight G Turo is here. Watts Loke. What's up? Arlette is here. And High Tech. What's up? What's up? What's up? All right. So moving along. Let's talk about Jai Opetaia destroying Jordan Thompson. Again, this goes to just not having the experience. Jordan Thompson, to be honest, let's be real. Let's put it all on the table right now. Jordan Thompson is a really big guy. He looks like, he has the look to be somewhat of a star. You know what I mean? He's a no homo pause. He's a good looking guy. He's fit. He's huge at the weight. You know what I mean? He's a big guy, 6'5", 6'6". You know what? He has all the looks to be a star. And that's one thing that Jai said yesterday. It's like, yo, you guys were making it all about him. This promo. Oh, that's my live. The promo was based on Jai. I'm sorry, it was based on Jordan Thompson, the less experienced guy. Jordan was coming off of 2 wins against 2 of the best opposition he's faced up to this point, and he did not look good in those 2 fights. And those guys are levels below Jai Opetaia. You know what I mean? Whether you're looking at the resume, whether you're looking at just styles, Jai was just way too good. I mean, he's clearly right now, unless he fights Breedis in a rematch, he's clearly the best fighter at cruiserweight right now. You know what I mean? And I like what he did. I like his demeanor yesterday. He wasn't in there to play no games. He wasn't smiling. He was there to take care of business. And that's exactly what he did. You know what I mean? He dominated Jordan Thompson, beat him up throughout the entire 4 rounds that it went. All right, he almost stopped him in the first round. He dropped him in the first round, and Jordan Thompson, I give him credit because he fought back. He stayed in the fight, but he was too stiff. His head never moved. His head was on the line the entire time. And it's like, I said this when this fight was announced. How do we go from watching Jordan Thompson fight on these undercards, on these matchroom undercards? How do we go from that? And I know there were a couple fights that were supposed to happen that didn't happen, but how do we go from that to a championship fight? And that the way the outcome of that fight is exactly what was predicted. You just didn't fight anyone good, and you went straight to the top overnight. And that outcome that's the result. That's the result you're going to get. The result is that when you just go from finding regular dudes to going shooting straight to the top, that's exactly what happens. And I know Jai did not have the best opposition. He did not fight the best opposition leading up to Breedis. All right, he didn't. But we saw what he did in the Breedis fight. When he was able to break his nose. He was able to outbox him. He was able to get a jaw broken in that fight and continue to fight. It's not like when Devin Haney got hit by Jorge Linares and he basically tied up for the remainder of the fight. You know what I mean? He still fought back against Breedis in that fight. You know what I mean? So Jordan Thompson got dominated. Like I said yesterday, I really don't know what he should do. Should he go up to heavyweight? I don't think his loss had to do with him being drained. It's just that he's not that good. I mean, the guy did not move his head once. Jai started catching him with straight lefts in the earliest round, the first round. And it was easy to do it for the remaining of the fight. The whole fight, you can do it. He couldn't miss with that. You know, Jordan probably blocked it with his gloves a few times, but outside of that, Jordan got hit and Jordan got bullied. You know, when Jai was on the inside exchanging with him, he was losing the exchanges too. Jordan had nothing for him, you know? And that's the thing about like the cruiserweight division. I think the outgoing guys from the last, you know, the last generation, like the Usyks of the world, the Breeders, the Dorticos, all of those guys that was in those tournaments. All right, and even before them, you know what I mean? Those guys were just a better crop uh of cruiserweights. You know, right now I'm just not feeling the lineup of the fighters that's there right now. You know, I think Jai sets himself way apart from everybody else that's there right now. You know what I mean? Shout out to everyone that's coming in. So, what's up, Boxing Knowledge? What's good? What's good with you? One foot out there just said, saw a video that Jai got a call from Fury after the fight, likely trying to reel him in to be a sparring partner to prepare for Usyk. Yeah, that would be a great sparring partner. You know, Jai is the closest thing to Usyk that we've seen since Usyk, you know. All right. Yeah, definitely hit the like, man. Everybody hit the like button. All right, so let's go into this Showtime. Let's go into this Showtime pay-per-view card. Let's talk a little bit about that. All right. Let's start out with the opening fight. Let's start out with the opening fight. You know what? Let's talk about a little bit about Frank Sanchez first. All right. If you didn't hear me yesterday, I spoke about him a little bit. And like I said, with Wallin getting this win, it's time for Frank to step it up. You know, it's time for him to show us what he can really do. You know, we know that Jared Anderson recently called him out. You know, let's get that fight. Wallin just picked up a big win. Wallin has fought on Showtime before. You know, get a deal done. Get Frank Sanchez in there with a real fighter. You know what I mean? You know, he beat Efe Ajagba. Cool, that's great, but we need to see him in there with a real fighter. What's up? What's up, everyone that's joining us, man? Yeah, let's get Frank Sanchez in there. That's all I really gotta say. You know, as far as the style, one thing, and I say this all the time, one thing about Frank Sanchez is, you know, Frank, he doesn't fight well, leading. You know, I don't think he's that good when he's coming forward. I don't think he has the biggest power. You know, I think he has to fight a extremely disciplined, cautious fight when he's in there. You know what I mean? Frank Sanchez is best when he's fighting on his back foot. I think that's the version of him that's going to be hard for anyone to beat. But when he's coming forward, when he's fighting lesser opposition, where he's clearly just trying to get a knockout, he doesn't look that good. He gets hit a lot more. He got caught yesterday against Alexander, Scott Alexander. He got caught with a good shot in the first round. He got buzzed. I think it was the first. It was the first or second round, but he got buzzed with a good shot early. You know, and that's him being overly aggressive and getting caught on the way in, and he got buzzed. So I want to see Frank. He looks the part, but I want to see Frank in a real fight. And again, if Usyk and Fury is really going to go down, you know, I've said this: Usyk and Fury need a fight. In the meantime, AJ needs to fight either Zhang or he needs to fight Hergovich. Get one of those dudes out of the way. And Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz need to get it on. Again, y'all both PBC. Y'all both been on pay-per-views. Y'all both got good wins. Y'all both beat Luis Ortiz. Andy Ruiz got a win over Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? Make it work. Sit at the table. Do the phone call thing if you got to. Do what Spence and Crawford did. Make the fight happen. Y'all can make a lot of money. It will help build up towards the next fight. Don't do no rematch clauses. Yo, let's do away with that. Because at this point, we're getting close to the finish line with this generation of heavyweights. The Furies, Usyk, Joshua, Wilder, Andy Ruiz, all these guys. Zhang is getting up there. Joyce is getting up there. Dillian White, he's suspended again. Let's close this whole generation, which it's been a great time. It's been a great time. You know what? The Klitschko era was boring to a lot of boxing fans. Regardless of what they were able to do, great fighters, historically great fighters, a lot of people lost interest in the sport because after the Lewis, the Tysons, the Holyfields, that era, when they left the game, a lot of people fell off the heavyweight division. There was talent there, but people didn't care. People started to pay more attention to the welterweights at that time. You know what I mean? And people cared about Floyd. People cared about Oscar De La Hoya. People cared about, all of these guys, Tito and all these smaller guys, even in middleweights. You have Roy Jones. You had all these fighters that people cared more about than they did when the heavyweights. So with that being said, this was a fun ride. When AJ, Joseph Parker, Dillian White, Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, when these guys were coming up, it was fun. We seen Tyson Fury beat Klitschko. He dethroned Klitschko. And then we seen AJ get into this classic fight with Vladimir Klitschko. It was a classic. So all you guys had your highs and your lows. Fury didn't lose, but he had his lows, popping dirty, retiring, for those couple years, losing the belts. Yes, he kept winning, but you had the Wilder fights, which were great. Joshua had his moments. He had the losses. He had the wins. Let's close this out. You know what I mean? Let's be done. Let's get these last final fights because we don't want any more interruptions before we get these fights that we want. The few that's left. Fury has not fought AJ and he has not fought Usyk. Let's get that in. Wilder and Joshua hasn't fought each other. Let's get that in. Andy Ruiz has not fought Wilder. Let's get that in. Let's get the few fights that we haven't got yet. Let's get those and let's let's make space for all these other guys that's want to come up so we can get into those fights. All right. But guys like Wallin, Sanchez, Jared Anderson, Arslan Beck, all these other guys that's coming, let's get them in a ring with each other. Let's do that. Let's do that. I feel like they're probably going to set up Efe Ajagba and Jared Anderson, but regardless, let's get some of these guys in the ring. You know what I mean? All right. So let's get let's talk about Carmel Morton. All right, because everybody was asking about him yesterday. He fought on a debut yesterday. I don't know if his fight was before, because his fight was, let's see. I was looking at the box rec and they kept showing that his fight didn't occur. So his fight might have actually happened late. If somebody knows, confirm with me. But everybody was asking about him. Everybody was joining the chat asking about him and his pro debut. What's up, Charles? What's good? What's up, Woog? What's good with you, man? So what's up, everyone that's joined us, man? Please hit the thumbs up if you are. It's 164 people in here. Let's get these likes up. Let's blow through 100 likes real quick. Morton fought on his professional debut. He fought Ezekiel Flores, all right, who was 4-0 going into this fight. And, Carmel was able to knock him out in the first round. Good win. This is supposed to be the newest, the next generation guy to the next generation. He's only 17 years old, and he's a phenomenal amateur. He's sparred with everybody. You know what I mean? Everyone around his size. I think he's at I believe he's like at around 130 right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, all right. Short fighter, but you know what? He went in there, he did his thing, and he's going to be, based on what I've seen videos of him on YouTube. there's a chance that he might be getting another like an early title fight. You know, I believe Floyd is going to push him to get an early title fight in his career. He's been trying to do that already. So he's going to be one of those ones that I think within the next 2 years, Floyd is going to try to lead him into getting a title fight very early in his career. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a phenomenal talent, but you know he's young, but he's been in there where he has a ton of experience. You know what I mean? But he fought yesterday. He looked good. There was a video. There's a couple of videos floating around on YouTube of the fight, but they're ringside videos. They're not like the broadcast. I guess people believe that Showtime was going to show his fight, and they didn't. All right, but he's one of those fighters to look out at for the near future. All right, he'll probably be a star at some point. Love him though. He's a good kid. Every one of his interviews, he's very humble. You know what I mean? He seems like a really good kid. But when he's in there, he's a beast. All right. Um, let's talk about Garcia and Resendez. Probably the most action in the fight we've gotten on this card overnight, which was no surprise. The problem is it was just no defense displayed from either one of them. You know, I was live covering it. Most of y'all that's in here now was here last night, and it was just a rock'em sock'em robot type of fight. But early on, I would say that Resendez displayed better defense between the two, but he was just throwing a lot of volume punches without having any like sting behind his punches. Like he really wasn't sitting on anything he was throwing last night. Everything was just volume. He was throwing a lot of punches, and he was just, you know, Garcia on the other hand was sitting down on his punch and hitting them with heavier shots and hitting them with bigger combinations. You know what I mean? So it just, you know, at some point, I think Garcia hurt him early. You know, because I think the first round, Resendez probably was winning the first round until he got hurt late in the round. So I gave it to Garcia. And I remember giving Resendez the second round. I think I might have gave Resendez one more round at some point, but honestly, Garcia to me was winning simply because he was landing the bigger shots, the more effective shots, you know. Resendez was throwing more. He was landing more. I mean, like, again, nobody was displaying that much defense. But Garcia, at the end of the day, was the better fighter. He ended up getting the stoppage. I thought it was a good stoppage. All right. Resendez was catching too many hits. They both was damaged. Visually, you can see the damage. Garcia was bleeding from his nose. He had a mark on his cheek. But I think Resendez had more swelling on his face. You know what I mean? But good fight, good showcase. It was a good fight to start off the night. You know, I expected that fight to be there, to be like that. But the problem with Garcia that I have right now is he's only 20 years old, and I just don't think it's good for him to just keep getting in these kind of wars. You know, because the moment he become less durable, he's gonna get caught, and if he gets caught with a good shot and he gets stopped in his first fight, I feel like every fight after that, guys is gonna be able to, like, you know, break him. You know, the first fighter that breaks him, I think is gonna be over. I don't think he's gonna have a long career. You know, it's my personal opinion. He's good. He's highly ranked. You know, on BoxRec they have him. They have him at number 9 now. On BoxRec. And I know that's not an official ranking, but it gives you an idea of where he's at. You know what I mean? So at this point, with the last few fights he's had, I would say, you know, they have him lined up around Shane Mosley Jr. That would be a good fight. Austin Ammo Williams, he just fought. That would be a good fight. Those are good fights, you know. Denzel Bentley, Liam Williams, guys that's been around. But you know, it's not going to take much to get to the top. All right, but I don't think he should fight the top 5, 6, 7 fighters yet. But I think he should be fighting those guys that I just named that's right there in the top contender slots. You know what I mean? So yeah, good fight though. Um, all right, what was the next fight? Oh, okay, Ugas. Let's talk about Ugas. Let's talk about Ugas and Mario Barrios. Okay, your Dennis Ugas got dominated. You know, and it wasn't the whole fight. I think early in the fight, it was a good fight from him. He was showcasing some good counter punching and all of that, but he almost got stopped. He got knocked down a couple of times, and I can tell you, I didn't take a good look at Ugas before the fight started. Not a great look at him, but I can tell you that Ugas looks like he's still damaged from that Spence fight. I mean, his face, his eye in the first round. I said the first round, at the end of the first round, I said his eye looks like it's already swelling up. The couple of jabs that Barrios landed in that first round already had his eye slowly closing. And every single round, you can see the damage it was doing. And when Ugas went down from that jab, it was a flash knockdown, but that was a clear sign that this guy cannot take the punches anymore. One thing about Ugas, he's always been durable. Even when Spence beat him down, he was still able to continue, and he got the doctor stopped the fight. All right, it's not like he wanted to. I mean, he was getting a beat down, but he didn't quit. He took the beating. Just like in this fight, he was taking a beating. He ended up looking the same at the end of the fight, just like the Spence fight, looking very similar. I think every round in the last 3 or 4 championship rounds, the referee called the doctor up and wanted to stop. The referee did not want to he was adamant by ending this fight. He did not want this fight to continue. He kept calling the doctor up, and the doctor kept letting him continue. But I think he's done. You guys are asking me he should retire. I think he should retire, because at this point, if he had won this fight, I would say, you know what, throw him in there with Thurman. You know what I mean? Or if they could talk him into fighting Boots. He said in an interview not too long ago he's willing to fight Boots. Throw him in there with Boots. You know what I mean? But after losing that fight the way he did, I think he should retire. He's made his money. He had the Pacquiao pay-per-view. He had the Spence pay-per-view. He had a title in that fight. He had this fight. You made your money, man. Retire from the game, because at this point, you don't want to get damaged to a point where you're not going to be the same no more. You know what I mean? And I think listen, you got a great win. You had a good welterweight career. You've been in there with some of the best fighters at the division for a while. Huge company, being from Cuba, fighting at 140, had it rough at 140. His story that they did a story on Access. I don't know if it was the Pacquiao fight, or I don't know if it was Spence fight, but his story had a great story, because there was a point in his career at 140 that he was going to retire. He was going to retire because if you look at his resume, he has some losses to guys that you would think he would beat. But I personally think that he was draining himself at 140. When he was losing those fights down there, he was probably draining himself down there. And ever since he's fought at 147, he's looked fuller. He looked bigger. He looked like one of the bigger fighters at 147. And he's been better. He's been doing good against when he beat Figueroa and dominated him, having that really close split decision with Sean Porter, beating Manny Pacquiao, even though Pacquiao was way past it, you know what I mean? He still got the win. If they give you the call, the fight Boots, don't take it, man. I actually believe that Mario Barrios is going to get the call to fight Boots. I think Ugas should retire, but if Ugas gets the call to fight Jerome Boots, don't take the fight, man. Don't take the fight. Don't fight Stanionis. Don't fight Boots. Don't fight Thurman. It's over. It's over. You know, Barrios, I said that he was a live dog. I should have took the money on him. I messed up on that one. Because I said in my own video that he was a live dog. And I overthink and went with the guy that I thought was the better fighter. Ugas probably was the better fighter at one point, but he is not durable. The spin's broke him. Spin's broke him. You know, and he's 37. It's over. You know, it's over. So hopefully he doesn't get the call, but he's probably going to get the call. I doubt he retires. I think he should, but he's probably going to get a call. You know what I mean? And I think it's probably going to be for someone that's on the come up to look to facing a former champion. Hold on, let me warm this up. Give me a second. Yeah, so as far as Barrios right now, they're probably gonna line him up when they're with Boots. I mean, because Thurman already beat him, you know, but he gave Thurman a good fight. You know, he was able to hurt Thurman at some point in the fight. Who did I bring up yesterday that he should fight? Who else is available? You know, you never know. Barrios might get a call for Conor Ben. I can see Ben taking that fight. I can see. I mean, Ennis is probably good. He's probably going to get a call to fight Boots, but I can see Barrios. And I made a joke yesterday. On BoxRec, Mario Barrios is ranked number 3 at welterweight right now. Now, you know, there's a few people missing from this ranking because if you don't fight within a year, they remove you from their rankings. You know, so you have to fight. So it could be the best fighter in the world. If you haven't fought in a year, they remove you in the rankings at welterweight or at whatever weight you fight at. All right, but I can see him getting a call for Ennis, Cody Crowley, who's also PBC, Josh Taylor, you know, on his comeback fight. I can see Conor Ben giving him a call. You know what I mean? Conor Ben and his people might give him a call. Maybe he gets a call to fight Alexis Rocha. You know what I mean? But I see him fighting someone in that level, at that level. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think he's going to go too far down. You know, maybe a Rashidi Ellis. You know, I know Ellis hasn't fought since he lost to Villa. You know, so he needs to, Rashidi Ellis needs to get back in the ring. You know? Punch Quote just made a good point. He says, I could see Thurman in UK now versus Brook on Ben. Big payday for him. Yeah, that could happen. You know, but that's what Thurman is looking for. Thurman is looking for the bread. He's looking for the bag. He ain't looking to just be competing to show that he's a former unified champ. You know, so I'm not seeing any fight happening for Thurman right now unless it's for the money. You know, he's looking to get paid some millions in his next fight because he's looking for his way out. You know, Stanionis, I didn't even mention him here because he's not in the rankings because he hasn't fought in over a year. And it sucks for Stanionis because, like, he was supposed to get a fight a couple of times. And, you know, he's been on the shelf because Virgil Ortiz, he pulled out of the fight once and Virgil Ortiz pulled out of the fight twice. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let me get my coffee. All right, so let's get to the next fight. Erickson Lubin against Jesus Ramos. Now, on the channel in the comment section yesterday, it was split. I thought Erickson Lubin was winning the fight, you know, with with ease. I thought Ramos was clearly being the aggressor, but he was walking right into shots. He was just getting caught in traps. And I thought Erison Lubin was in complete control of the fight. I picked against him because I thought at some point that he would try to battle with Ramos. I thought Ramos was going to lure him into an exchange, and he would get clipped and he would get stopped at some point in the second half of the fight. That was my official prediction. I was wrong. Erison Lubin, for a disciplined fight, he was outboxing him to me. I see that the unofficial scorecard had it pretty wide. I don't know what they had it at the end, but the unofficial scorecard had it wide for Ramos. I don't see it that way. I see a couple of the guys in the comments now, and even last night had Ramos up wide. I didn't see it that way, and it's no bias because my bet was for Ramos to win the fight. But Erison Lubin won in my eyes. Be fair, I thought Erison Lubin, what he was doing was better. I don't think he dominated, but I don't think that Ramos at any point in the fight had a good rhythm. I think he was trying to be aggressive, but it just wasn't working. And Lubin stayed patient. He picked the shots, and won with ease without too many issues. I mean, visually, he didn't take any damage in the fight. And for Ramos to be the biggest guy, and I've been hyping him up probably more than any other channel in here, or at least most channel. I've been hyping him up, and I've been saying that I want to see him fight Tim Tszyu and this, that. He took an L last night, and it happens. It happens. But in the history of this division, in the past 10 years that I've been covering this channel, right? 154. Oh, come on, man. How one of those bugs? What's the bugs that's going around right now? What's those bugs that's just like gone crazy this year? And they just been all around. I forgot what the name of those bugs. One just snuck in here, and I don't know how he got in here. I actually haven't seen them in weeks. I thought they died. But one just found his way into my place. What was I saying? Ramos took a loss, and in the history of this division, it's always been like that. And this is why it's no, the flying bugs that's been the ones that they said that are from China or whatever. I forgot what they call it. Whatever. One just got in here. The history of 154 has always been like that. No one has ever really dominated this division. I mean, Jamel has recently became undisputed, but I'm talking about before he became champion, when everyone was there, when his brother was there, when J-Rock was there, Hurd, all these guys were taking losses. None of these guys can go undefeated and just keep staying undefeated. I mean, even Jamel took his loss at 154. None of these guys can really just go undefeated. Everyone has taken their losses. Ramos taking his loss. It is what it is. He'll bounce back. He's still a very good fighter. And I still want to see him against, maybe Tim Tszyu. I mean, right now, I think Lubin earned some sort of a title shot. Hopefully he gets Brian Mendoza. Hopefully he get maybe a Tim Tszyu. You know what I mean? I don't know what Charlo, and we're going to talk more about Charlo in a minute because he's next. I don't know what Charlo's going to do. I don't know if he's going to come back down to 154 and still defend his titles, the 3 that he has, because he lost one, because now Tim Tszyu is going to be fighting Brian Mendoza for that WBC thing. You know what I mean? So we got to see what happens with that. But I don't know what's going to happen here, but it was a good fight. I thought Erison Lubin won the fight. All right. I thought he won it clear. But I can see that it's split. There's a lot of people here that thought Ramos was winning the fight, including the broadcast. The broadcast, I couldn't hear them, but from what people were saying in the comments that they had it, they were extremely biased towards Ramos in the actual broadcast of the fight. All right, but I thought Lubin won the fight. I thought he won. You know, I see people screaming robbery and stuff. I personally thought Lubin won the fight. Yo, that bug is not behind me. I'm looking at. Oh wait, no, it's not over there anymore. All right, whatever. They don't bite. You know. All right, let's talk Charlo. I rewatched the fight. I was angry last night. Because obviously I was drunk, first of all, but I didn't see Charlo putting his all into the fight. From what I was watching last night, it seemed like Charlo didn't really want to engage with Canelo. It's like he was giving away every single round leading up to the end of the fight. You know, so I was pissed off because I'm like, yo, this is not what I expected. I told you guys that this was going to be one of the better fights and stuff like that. So I turned it back on with a sober mind and rewatched the fight. And it's not that much has changed, but what I can see in watching the fight, Canelo started landing body shots very early. And I can tell that Charlo did not want any part of that. From the first couple of rounds, those few body shots that Canelo caught him with, Charlo did not want to engage with this guy at all. He got hit. He's never been hit like that before. And this guy continued to move and move. He would throw a couple punches here and there, but he moved and moved and moved and moved. And he was like, I am not getting knocked out. And that was it. You know, every once in a round, he'd throw like a little combination. And this is another thing. And this is what I said in the breakdown, man. This is what happens when a little guy moves up 2 divisions, right? Against a puncher. And they've never been hit like that before. Everybody's talking about, oh, he's bigger. He walk around bigger. This. Everybody that Canelo has fought in recent years is bigger than Charlo. So it doesn't matter how Charlo looks compared to Canelo. Canelo has been fighting at this size and bigger for years. For years. You know what I mean? So Charlo, as soon as he caught a hook to the body, this dude was on the move. And as time went on, he don't look as fast. Even the broadcasters are saying, yo, normally he's faster. He's more explosive. He doesn't look as fast, right? When he was letting his hands go, the few times that he did, punches didn't look as fast as it did in the Castano fight. You know why? Because he's bigger. He's heavier. He hasn't fought at that weight before. And it showed. So the few times that he let his hands go, he didn't look like his normal self. And a guy as durable as he been his whole career, he ain't never get hit like that before. He didn't want no parts of that. So he said, you know what? I can't beat this guy. But I don't want to get knocked out. That's exactly what I think. That's my analysis on the fight. He got hit early, and he was like, I am not getting knocked out by this guy. It reminded me of Lil B-Hop, Chris Colbert. I know he calls himself prime time, but I'm talking about back in the amateur days. Chris Colbert. What happened when he fought Hector Garcia? He was losing, and he said after the fight, I wasn't getting knocked out. So he dipped for the remainder of the fight. Charlo moved up in 2 weights. He did all that talking just to, you know, and you know what? It's probably good that it happened because it just shows the difference of weight classes. They have them for a reason. And it's funny because Bud, before he started to say that he was going to move up to 168, because I think what happened was his Spence performance was so good that when Bud said, I'm not going to 168, everybody got in his head and saying, no, you could beat Canelo. Canelo looked like he's falling off. So then he turned back and said, oh, now I'm going to go to 168. I want to fight the winner of that fight. Because everybody's saying, yo, if you beat him. I saw Chris Algieri on Pro Box say the other day that if Crawford beats Canelo at 168, he's the greatest of all time. So now when you hear that, you're like, I get a bag. Probably going to get the biggest bag in my life. And if I happen to win, people are going to look at me like I'm the greatest of all time. So that whole there's weight classes for a reason became the risk is worth the reward. But as you can see, and Jamel Charlo is not Terrence Crawford. All right. But there are weight classes for a reason. And this is proof. Jamel was undisputed at 154. But Canelo was fighting at 154 eons ago. This guy's fighting guys at 175. They was just getting ready to line him up against Makabu at cruiser. So I can't really tell you if Canelo is better or he's back. Because Canelo was doing what Canelo always does to me. Now, some people are shocked because there was a lot of people. Yo, were y'all here yesterday? How many people that was in the comments yesterday saying that Charlo was going to knock Canelo out? How many people were saying that yesterday? It was more people in here saying Charlo was going to win by knockout than Charlo would win by decision. People thought Charlo was going to knock him out. I was seeing on Twitter, Charlo's going to shock the world. Even content creators like, Charlo going to shock the world. Canelo is done. He's washed up. Canelo looked to me like Canelo has always looked. It was the same Canelo. The only difference is he's fighting a guy that actually moved up to face him. This is the first time where he wasn't fighting. I know people were saying he's bigger, but this is the first time someone moved up to fight him. And he made it look easy. Yo, you don't belong up here, my man. Go back down there. You're a Cub. Go back down here. You don't belong up here. He shut that down. You know what I mean? So, look, congratulations to Canelo for picking up another win. But I've been saying the same thing for I don't know how long. Let's get Canelo against the winner of Demetrius Andrade and David Benavidez. Let's get that for May. Cinco de Mayo. Let's do it. Let's do it. So we can end this talk about, let's just end that. Because Andrade, his name has been coming up since 154. And Benavidez has been the recent guy that everybody feel that Canelo is ducking. So Canelo, let's get that fight. There's no excuse. There's no reason why we shouldn't get the winner of that fight next. You fought Charlo. You fought everybody else at 168. I know Benavidez didn't have a title because he lost it on the scales or he lost it for this and that, whatever. He don't have a title. But if he is to win against Andrade, should be getting him next. They both over there on the PBC now. They both in position. They've ruined their opportunities in the past. But if they win this fight, the winner of this fight should be the Mando for May. So we don't have to hear those excuses. Like, Charlo did not belong up there. That's my guy, but he had no business fighting Canelo Alvarez at 168. He's not more talented, and he doesn't belong. He's not a super middleweight. He's not. At bare minimum, he's a middleweight. All right. I know he's undisputed. Yeah, they sold it. Good promotion. Undisputed versus undisputed. There's levels in undisputed. There's levels. There's still levels. And he had no business being there. And I even said before the fight, Canelo, size for size, weight for weight. Canelo it was no point in Charlo's career that I thought he was better than Canelo Alvarez. That's no hating. That's just real talk. Charlo felt that power. He's never been hit. Who hit him like that? Not Castano. Not Tony Harrison. Not Erickson Lubin. There's nobody that Charlo has faced at 154 that gave him anything close to that kind of power. There's no one down there. There's no one down there. So he jumped up 2 divisions to fight one of the best fighters in this generation and felt his power, and he had nothing left for the remaining fight. His plan was, I ain't trying to get knocked out. If I take the loss, at least I'm getting the bag. I don't think he went in there to lay down. So that's the only difference that I feel from last night, because last night I was twisted and just mad because the fight was just not competitive. I don't think he went in there to lay down. I think he went in there, felt his power, and said, I'm not going to engage with this guy because this guy will knock me out. This guy is faster than me. He thinks better than me. He has a better boxing IQ, better timing, better counterpuncher, and way stronger power than me. I can't engage with this guy. So I'm going to play it safe until the final bell rings. He got clipped with a right hand, went down, took a knee in the 7th round or something like that. And that was it. And he was he was already on the move. When we thought the first round was a filling out round, shortly after that, when he felt that left hand to the body, he was like, nah, I'm good. Other guys like Caleb Plant, Saunders, those guys are bigger. They've been fighting bigger guys for much longer. They've been fighting at super middleweight or middleweight or light heavy. These guys felt power like that before. You know what I mean? They felt it. So even though Plant didn't have the power to compete with Canelo, he was still fighting. He was still engaging. You know why? Because he's a true super middleweight. So all this Charlo undisputed shit, it didn't mean nothing because he was too small to begin with. And this is why I am not a big fan of Crawford moving up. I get it from a historical standpoint. If he were to win the fight, I get it. It would be big. It would be monumental. So I understand it coming from that aspect. But, and it's a huge but you get hit to the body with one of those left hooks that Jamel took yesterday as a 140, as a welterweight moving up. It's not going to matter how good you are. They have weight classes for a reason. It's not going to matter. Hit the thumbs up. Smash that like button if you haven't already. You know, and that's what it is. And it's real simple, man. It was basically a tune-up for Canelo. It's a tune-up. It was a tune-up. It was an exhibition for Canelo. All right? They just hyped it up because Jamel was undisputed. But it was a good promo, but it was a tune-up. It is what it is. All right, Canelo looked like Canelo. They're saying he's back. He ain't never left. He ain't never left. You know? But when they put him in there with someone that he feels is dangerous to him, and it may be Benavidez or it may be Andrade, the winner of that fight, Canelo going to show up at his best. So everything that people were saying, like Canelo fell off, this, that, he he probably didn't feel like he was in any danger fighting John Ryder. He didn't feel like he was in any danger going in a fight with old Triple G. So whatever him burning out in the later half of the fight, the championship rounds, is probably because he probably thought he was going to go in there and knock these guys out, and he underestimated them. So let's talk about Charlo. What is he going to do? He says he still want to fight Terrence Bud Crawford. Well, Crawford went on Twitter and said, I don't even want to fight you anymore. You didn't even try to fight. You didn't even try to fight. Is basically what most people are saying. I think the fight should still happen if Charlo is looking to move back down to 154 and defend those titles. Because if I'm looking at it from a standpoint of Terrence Crawford, he wants to fight for titles. He wants to become undisputed. And this is his words, not mine. If he still wants to become undisputed at another division and Canelo doesn't give him that, because Canelo doesn't seem to be interested. He said again yesterday he's not interested in that. So if Charlo is going to be moving back down to 154 and he's still going to be holding 3 of those 4 belts, and I don't know what's going to happen with Spence and Terrence Crawford in a rematch, but if they get their rematch, I think Terrence Crawford should fight Charlo if Charlo is still holding on belts. I'm not interested in the fight, or I don't think Crawford is interested in the fight if those titles are not on the line. He's trying to be a 3-division undisputed champion. You know what I mean? So I don't believe that the fight happens if those titles are not on the line. So that's what I'm expecting right now. Spence rematch, and then Charlo at 154 if he comes back down to 154. But you got to remember, I don't know what the sanctioning bodies are going to do. Because by that time, Tim Tszyu and Brian Mendoza is going to happen soon, right? So by that time, and I think that's next week, and by that time, or maybe it's in a couple weeks, I don't know, but Tim Tszyu or Brian Mendoza, one of them is going to be a champion. They're going to hold a title. So I don't know what Charlo is going to do. We just got to wait to see. But, if he can get a big name fight at 160, I could see him going down to 160, maybe fighting Chris Eubank Jr. or a Jaime Munguia or something, that's if he doesn't want to go back down to 54. But if he goes down to 60 and he no longer has those titles that he had at 54, Crawford's not going to fight him. Crawford is going to be looking to fight for some titles. He wants some titles to be on the line. And if it's not going to be undisputed, he's probably going to want to collect the belts, as many belts as he can, in one fight. You know what I mean? It's crazy. This Charlo thing is crazy, man, because he didn't fight Tim Tszyu, and he became undisputed before Tim Tszyu became his mandatory. So that's on him. That's not like he didn't duck. But if you think that he avoided the fight when he claimed he hurt his hand and all of that stuff, I don't think it's a duck simply because if he had a proven injury, then he's not going to fight. He has a reason to not fight. And he shouldn't be fighting Tim Tszyu over if you have the opportunity to fight Canelo. I think anybody that has the opportunity to fight Canelo, and then Tim Tszyu said it himself, you got to understand. You got to take the fight. Whether you have a chance or not, You're gonna want to get the money, you know what I mean, to fight Canelo. You know, but I'm interested to seeing what happens here, what happens next with Crawford, and what he is going to do. You know, I know he wants to make history again, but from what I from what I'm seeing here, it's gonna be hard to get if he doesn't fight Canelo, it's gonna be hard to get an undisputed fight in one fight at this point. It's gonna take more than one fight. And if you already have to fight Spence in a rematch, then fight one of these guys at 150, whether it's Charlo, whether it's Tim Tszyu, whether if they fight each other first, you're gonna have to probably. I think his best chances is be if like, and let's look at this scenario because I'm trying to think of the scenarios here. If Charlo fights Tim Tszyu first, and he can put Tim Tszyu, if Tim Tszyu wins against Brian Mendoza, I'm saying Tim Tszyu, but I'm not sleeping on Mendoza. It's just like, let's just say Tim Tszyu wins against Brian Mendoza. If Charlo were to fight Tim Tszyu and they fight for undisputed, because Tim Tszyu would be the champion, he would be the WBC champion. The winner of that fight, fighting Crawford after that, would be the best chance of Crawford becoming undisputed in another division. Because by that time, he would have already fought Spence in a rematch. So whatever the scenario is going to take at least a year for all of this to happen. You know, because there's a couple of fights that need to take place. If he fights Charlo after fighting Spence in a rematch, it won't be for undisputed. He would have to go and fight whoever else is holding the title. Unless Spence doesn't take the rematch for whatever reason. If they have an issue with weight or whatever, and they decide to back out from that rematch, then it gives them the option to go to 154 now and fight one of these guys. You know? Because I'm sure if he can't make it happen with Charlo right away, and this isn't the scenario where the rematch with Spence doesn't happen. If Tim Tszyu beats Brian Mendoza, you best believe Australia are going to try to put together a stadium fight for Terence Crawford to fly out there to fight Tim Tszyu. So there's so many scenarios that can happen here right now when we're discussing 154. It really depends on what Charlo was going to do. And it depends on who he's going to face first coming off of this law. Is it going to be the winner of Tim Tszyu Mendoza, or is it going to be Terence Crawford? It's just so many different scenarios that we can play here, you know. But I'm just trying to throw them all out there because we don't really know what's going to happen. You know, we don't even know it's going to be a rematch between him and Spence right now because there's no hard confirmation that fight is going to go down. You know, so we're still waiting on that. All right, but as far as Canelo, I think there's only one way to go here. You know, people, you know, the Bivol thing still comes up from time to time. But I'm not interested in seeing another fight. I know Bivol wants to come down to 168 and do it. I know Canelo had wanted to go up to 175. I know there was more issues about the A-side thing, you know, because Bivol wants more money being that he beat him already. So I don't know what's up with that fight. And no, I don't have that much interest in it. You know, only interested fight that I have at 175 is Bivol and Better BF, whether it's for undisputed or not. But at 168, man, I think there's only one move for Canelo to make at this point, and it's fighting the winner of Andrade and Benavidez. You know, I don't see the Morrell fight happening. I know Morrell has a WBA world title, but not a lot of people know who he is. You know, I think he's a dangerous fighter for anyone at 168, but I think because of no one really knowing him and stuff, I can't see that fight happening with Canelo. You know, I think Morrell will probably have to face someone like an Andre or Benavidez before getting to a Canelo Alvarez. You know, regardless of what the sanctioning bodies or the WBA try to enforce, I can't see them really trying to enforce that fight without Canelo fighting the winner of Benavidez or Andre first. You know what I mean? But that's it. It's like, Canelo's already beat most of these guys at 168. So I feel like that's the only option at this point, and it should be. I think it's worth the pay-per-view to fight the winner of that fight between Benavidez and Andre. And that's it, man. That's it. We just gotta wait and see what happens. All right. So listen, please, again, I'm gonna get out of here, man. Hit the thumbs up. Please smash the like button. If you are new, subscribe to the channel, man. Had a great time last night. Again, sorry for the drunken talk or whatever. It was just too much. I watched some of this today and I was like, oh man, I was drunk bad. But that's my review of all the fights yesterday. And again, hit the thumbs up. I'm out of here. Y'all have a good Sunday. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.